Jackie, pronouns he, him, calling in from Miniature Squirrels, wants to talk about. There's literally just a list of philosophers here. Jackie, you're on the Atheist Experience with Ben and Forrest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Man, I'm having a good day, but I got to tell you, you and I have talked a few times before, and it always comes back to you just like name dropping a bunch of philosophers that you've heard of and just saying the word substrate a whole bunch. And I feel like we very rarely get any actual meat out of these calls, and we never actually address anything worthwhile. And I based on the fact that you've typed in the call screen here is literally just the names of several philosophers. I'm not confident that we're going to get anywhere in this call, man. And I hope you prove me wrong.
Just trying to be optimistic. So are either of you guys familiar with Rene Girard, Claude Levi-Strauss, or Jean Piaget?
It doesn't matter.
Nope.
But
also something here that I wanted to bring up before we get too far into this. I heard you were calling into other shows misgendering me. What's that all about, dude?
Well, that sucks.
But I referred to you with female pronouns because of my personal religious beliefs, but
what the fuck?
I apologize for that.
Okay.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, Jackie. Jackie. Okay, I'm gonna use female pronouns for you for the rest of the show.
Oh, that's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But was that a yes or no to my earlier question about being familiar with these people?
I really don't care about any of these people, especially now that I know that you don't. No, especially because you know why. Especially, I really don't care. Is because you do not care about respecting other people, and so really, I don't give a shit. It sounds like your belief system isn't one I want to adopt at all.
Yeah, the fact that you're going to sit here and say that Ben's fundamental identity doesn't comport with your personal beliefs, so you're just not going to entertain it, and then you want us to sit here and dig into the shit of like a bunch of philosophers. Like, who cares what you think, Jackie? Honestly, why would anyone take you seriously if that's how you're going to start a conversation?
I'm willing to use female pronouns for Ben. I just want to ask the question. It's just a yes or no question.
I don't want you to use female pronouns for me. What the fuck, dude?
Ben uses male pronouns just as I do, and for the exact same reason that I do.
I meant to say male pronouns. Yeah, I'll use male pronouns. I just want to know if you guys are familiar with these people.
How incredibly charitable of you to decide to be a decent human being. That's so nice. Oh, wow.
Wow, you're doing the bare minimum that you should be doing this whole time.
You've apparently been calling into other shows and being a complete asshole, but now you're willing to acquiesce Ben's humanity for a moment. Aren't you sweet?
Guys, so
do you remember a while ago, Jackie, when you and I talked and like I said something disparaging about Jordan Peterson and you said, I really like Jordan Peterson. I was like, yeah, we can all fucking tell. I think I said something at that time, and I believe Jesse did as well. I had Jesse Jurdak on that call, if I remember correctly. And we both said some things about how you're very young and you're going down a really shitty and dark path by listening to these absolute assholes who just use hatred and bigotry to expand their platform and to try to reach out to young men like you who are looking for guidance and looking for meaning. And we warned you about what would happen if you continued on that path. Does it mean anything to you that now you've got the two of us who I know I've been very charitable with you in the past, but like now we've gotten to this point where we're just so fucking sick of you being a dick and you're just treating Ben like crap. You're calling into this show to treat us both like crap, doing the same stuff that we've asked you not to do a million times. Does it resonate with you at all that this is not a cool way to make friends and influence people?
I wasn't trying to be crap. I was just asking if you guys are familiar with them, just so if we have common terminology.
Do you really think, Jackie, do you really think that that's what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. For Dr. Ben, I'm sorry. I should not have said that. I recognize that while my personal religious beliefs may say something, at the end of the day, I live in a society with other human beings, and I should have treated him with more dignity. And in retrospect, given just the general nature of how social interaction should go, I would have acted differently had I had the foresight.
Yeah. You know who doesn't have that foresight and who doesn't behave that way and who doesn't own up to their mistakes? Jordan fucking Peterson, dude. Quit listening to him.
Okay, none of the three people I listened are Jordan Peterson or have any or almost any relation. They're all three continental philosophers. So basically, René Girard and Claude Lévi-Strauss and Jean Piaget are three members of a philosophical movement within the continental tradition.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and just stop right there, Jackie. What is the point? I don't care about these people. I don't care what they said. I don't care why they said it. What is the specific argument that you have called to make? What is the thesis statement?
Basically, the idea that our entire Western intellectual tradition is built on a meta-narrative, and that meta-narrative goes back to Judeo-Christian values. So
okay,
basically,
if I grant you that, even if I grant you that, there is nothing particularly special or good about our Western intellectual tradition that you could not achieve without that meta-narrative. Judeo-Christianity still teaches and promotes evil things, and we are better off without it. So even if I grant your premise, Judeo-Christianity is still wrong. It is still a weight and an anchor to social progress. It still hinders society. It still is carcinogenic to individual minds. It's still a problem. Now what? Do you have anything of substance to say, or are you just going to parrot what these other people said?
I do have substance to say. So basically, so Girard formed a...
I don't care what they said. I care what you say, Jackie. What do you have to say about what I just said?
What I would have to say is the reason why we have any value hierarchy with perception, why we focus on some things over other things, why we value truth over ignorance, the divinity of the individual, and other things, is because we are part of a metaphysical substrate that goes back to...
I went over this with you the last time we talked, Jackie, and you can go back and watch that call and know exactly where we're just gonna go back in a circle of this again, because, and Jackie, something that I encourage you to do, I know you probably think it sounds really smart to use all these big words together, but the people oftentimes who know the most about a subject are able to put it in the most lay terms. And so the fact that you speak the way that you do is not impressive in any way. It just makes you sound like a tool. And I'm just going to say it here. Like, can you put your point into a concise statement that everybody should be able to understand and engage with?
Yes. So with each act of perception comes the value hierarchy. What sits at the pinnacle of the value hierarchy, and why have you inherited that?
Are you reading a script?
Are you restated what you just said?
Because it sounds like you can't even paraphrase what you were saying. So I'm questioning if you even understand what you're saying, because you should be able to rephrase it if you understand what the meat of your claim is, right?
It's not a simple thing. You're telling you this is like...
Forrest and I can sit here and explain the entire like physiology of like the human liver in very straightforward terms. Like, if we can do that, I'm pretty sure you could take something that is not simple and make it easier to understand. Right.
I literally teach, like, I break down like graduate level biology concepts on the internet every fucking time I do a show. And I use plain language all the time, because that's what you're supposed to do as an effective communicator, not just somebody who listens to Jordan Peterson, writes down a bunch of names and parrots a script. I've heard you say this exact shit too, Jackie. Like, I've talked to you several times. I've heard you say this exact stuff. I literally wish I could take a shot every time you said the word fucking substrate. It's just pointless. It's pointless. It doesn't go anywhere because you have no thought of your own.
I do. And
prove it.
With the exception of Jean Piaget.
Why?
Paraphrase.
No, prove it. Why is Christianity actually a good moral system?
Because it is the prerequisite for all knowledge acquisition and support.
You're just reading the same thing again.
Does that matter? Does that matter? After World War II, we used Nazi scientists to get a lot of knowledge about rockets and about biomedical science. We gained a tremendous amount of knowledge from Nazi experiments. Does that mean that Nazism is good because it was the prerequisite for that knowledge?
Nazism had nothing to do with knowledge acquisition. The knowledge acquisition
Yes, it absolutely did. It absolutely did. The Nazi ideology allowed them to perform unethical experiments that gained a tremendous amount of knowledge that we would not have gained at that speed under ethical conditions. It's part of that whole dichotomy. You can do things unethically and get ahead really fast, or you can do them ethically and go slow. And we choose to go slow and do things the right way. But the Nazis fucking didn't. It was because of their belief system that other people were subhuman and inferior. Their belief system allowed them to gain that knowledge, and then we benefited from that knowledge through Project Paperclip, bringing them over here and putting them in our society and giving them immunity and absolving them of their crimes, despite the fact that they were very much guilty. They and their ideology led to these discoveries. Does that mean that their ideology is good?
It, in some second-handed way, led to technological progress.
Is technological progress? Yeah, is technological progress worth that? Was that a good thing?
No, not even that. Not even was it worth it. You said Christianity is good because it led to the progress of our society. I'm saying here's another evil ideology that led to progress. Does the utility of the idea mean that it is good? Is Nazism a good ideology, Jackie?
No. Nazism is not a good ideology.
Why?
Because it inherent in Nazi ideology is the idea that certain groups of people, whether they're Jewish or disabled or what have you, should be treated as second-class citizens and stripped of human.
Precisely like in the Bible, where it says that Hebrew and non-Hebrew slaves should be treated differently.
And the reason why the abolitionists in America abolished slavery was because they were part of a Christian substrate.
No.
And the reason why slavery stuck around for as long as it did in America was because the people who owned slaves were part of a Christian substrate who believed in the curse of Ham and that black people were made to be slaves. But none of that answers the question, Jackie. Does the function of an ideology speak anything to the morality of that ideology?
Well, no. If the harm outweighs the good, then yes, obviously.
Then what you said earlier is bullshit, Jackie. If the function of an idea does not speak to the morality of the idea, then when I asked you earlier, why is Christianity good? And your response was because it's led to all this progress. That was a bullshit answer. So I'm going to ask you again, why is Christianity a good philosophy, a good ideology?
Because you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying any
answer the question.
Worldview is good.
Answer the question.
The exact same answer I gave earlier. But can I explain?
Which is?
Because you're not. Which is that it serves as a basis for why we have any value judgments at all. But can I explain that?
So it's
the difference in the analogy. That's part of it, but I'm saying the very prerequisite for the concept of good and evil has to be religious, by definition.
No, it does not, and we have demonstrated that to you several times. Ben and I are both atheists. We have concepts of good and evil that are completely detached from any religion, and they are certainly inherently detached from Christianity. Are we lying, or are you, Jackie?
I think on a subconscious level, the reason why you value things like the respect for the divinity of the individual, the idea that truth will set you free, comes from the fact that you're part of a Christian heritage. But that doesn't mean that you consciously accept it. So it's part of your collective unconscious using Corey Young's.
Why would the truth setting me free be a part of a Christian narrative when I value truth from science, from critical thinking, and the Bible tells me to believe things like a child with childlike faith and to not lean on my own understanding and go against everything that I value in science?
Even the most staunch critics of Christianity, like Friedrich Nietzsche, said the only reason why Christianity fell in the West was because it taught the West to value truth over ignorance.
Am I Friedrich Nietzsche?
No.
Then you should grapple with what I said, not with what he said. I am telling you that I value science and critical thinking. And the Bible says, lean not on your own understanding, have childlike faith. Those are two contradictory belief systems, Jackie.
But the belief in a transcendental order that will set you free is
no, they are not.
Logos.
Only one of them is.
Logos set you free.
Only one of those is belief in the transcendental. The other one is belief in objective reality that I can explore through science.
Which is
there is no necessary Christianity there.
If it's a transcendental eternal value for truth over ignorance, the idea that the logos will set you free, as opposed
I don't accept, Jackie, I don't accept that you know what the word transcendental means. There's a lot of words that you use. I don't know if you know what they mean. I don't know if you know what most of your position actually means. Like, because you just resort to quoting other people. And I think Forrest and I both agree you should question anybody you're going to be listening to.
Yep.
And yeah, I think understand the things that you're saying. Can you even tell us what you mean by transcendental?
Values which are eternal.
No. I just Googled the word transcendental because maybe I'm fucking wrong, right? Just to double check. And I came up with things that are spiritual or non-physical. So not even eternal, but even like, so I'm not talking about anything that is either spiritual or non-physical. I'm talking about objective physical reality that I am exploring through science. No part of that is eternal. The universe is not eternal.
For truth over ignorance.
Jackie, you're just going back to your script. Let's change the language. Jackie, I'm going to change the language here. Because this is what I'm gathering is the same argument that you're bringing, is that in order to be moral, you have to have a spiritual system that you're going off of. Is that your argument?
Yes, you need to have a organizing principle, a spirit to adventure, which organizes your value of.
Okay, off the script. We're gonna go because you just agreed with my and this is how you make a statement concise, right? So I said something here that you agreed with is your argument that you are asserting that in order to be moral, you have to have a spiritual system that gives you that morality. That's a way simpler way to go about it. You don't need all the flowery, stupid language. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about this. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to talk about.
Read any continental philosophers?
I do not care about that. I do not care about that. We are going to be talking about spiritual, like if you need something spiritual to have morality. Can you demonstrate anything that is spiritual as existing?
Consciousness.
I do not accept that.
There is no reason to believe that consciousness is spiritual at all. There's no evidence for that whatsoever.
So you believe that everything is physical processes and we can't control our decisions?
Nope. And those are not a dichotomy.
Then where does free will come from if everything is material?
Here's a fun game.
You are putting words in our mouth too. You're smuggling in the concept of free will. Now we did not agree to or disagree with. That wasn't even part of this conversation yet. We are just talking about, can you demonstrate that something is spiritual?
Yes, consciousness. The reason we have free will is because we have a non-material consciousness.
How can something non-material, how can something if we're talking about spiritual things or like non-material things that interact with our physical reality, there has to be some way then, if we are suggesting it that it interacts with our physical reality, we should be able to see those things that are produced by that interaction, right? So if there are spiritual things, how do we detect these spiritual things? Because I would say consciousness, we can see evidence of consciousness being related to brain function, which in these very unethical experiments that people have done in the past.
It's not the same thing.
It's an emergent property. So you cannot have, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's exactly what I was going to say next, is that consciousness is very clearly an emergent property of the electrochemical activity of a brain. And I can demonstrate that by showing you that if I change a brain, I change the consciousness that is associated with it. I change the level of consciousness. I change the expression of the consciousness. I can change everything about a person by changing their brain. Now, I need you to demonstrate how consciousness is separate from a brain and actually exists in this other and immaterial way. Can you give me one example of consciousness that is independent of matter?
For example, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer said the world is will and representation to everything.
And here we are again.
These other philosophers.
What do you think, Jackie? Can you give me an example of consciousness independent of matter?
I am a dualist, but that is just my leap of faith. But
I'm going to ask again. Can you give me an example of consciousness independent of matter? Yes or no?
I can't give you that right now, but there's some people who don't even believe matter exists. I don't agree with those.
So
that's not the point.
I don't care what other people believe. I'm talking to you, Jackie. I'm not talking to your philosopher friends. I'm not talking to Jordan Peterson. I'm not talking to other people. I'm talking to you. I want to know what you think. I want your ideas to try to stand on their own 2 feet for a change. You cannot demonstrate consciousness existing outside of matter or independent of matter. I can demonstrate that consciousness is dependent on matter. Which one of us has a more solid claim?
I don't believe either has been demonstrated.
So you have no evidence for your belief. I have evidence for mine. And you think that we're both standing on shaky ground here? Seriously?
Well, in terms of, do I have evidence for my beliefs? No, but you also don't have evidence because, for example, it could be that everything is consciousness, panpsychism. It could be that what you observe as matter is actually consciousness.
Jackie, no, you're playing with the definition. You're playing with the definition.
The evidence that I have demonstrated is that consciousness is tied to brain function. I can demonstrate that by altering brains and thereby altering the emergent consciousness. It doesn't matter.
Are made of
it doesn't
consciousness. It could be.
It doesn't matter if that's the case, Jackie. Even if that's the case, even if idealism is true and consciousness is what really exists and brains don't exist and that matter, it doesn't matter. I can still demonstrate that the effects and expression and presentation of consciousness is affected by the physical structure of a brain. I can demonstrate my claims. You cannot.
For my specific view on consciousness, but that's not the same as it being completely unreasonable. But
Jackie, hold on. This is not what it is unreasonable. You cannot demonstrate. You cannot demonstrate that consciousness is spiritual. You cannot demonstrate that anything is purely spiritual. And so, in that, you cannot say that morality has to have a basis in things that are spiritual, because you cannot demonstrate anything being spiritual. So how can you make that leap from things that are spiritual and morality is tied to things that are spiritual?
Moral definition involves, again, a hierarchy of judgments, and those hierarchy of judgments are nested in our subconscious and all blah, 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 right? And
I'm amazed that you're willing to accept all that after you've just demonstrated that you have no evidence for what you believe. You have nothing to back up what you said. And yet you're like, oh, totally cool with me. I'm going to keep believing in this thing that I have no way to justify.
I also want to throw out there, this whole thing started with you saying that we have this like deep-seated belief in Christianity. We grew up around Christianity. We have this subconscious belief in the Christian worldview, and that's where we're drawing this morality, this hierarchy, and all these things from. You understand that people who were not raised around Christianity, people who were around before Christianity existed, people who were around in places where Christianity had never touched yet, had morality and had hierarchies, right?
In some places, but in most of those moralities, especially in like...
So then your premise is falsified. If other people can get moral systems without need for Christianity, I can too. And just because I grew up around Christianity does not mean that I subconsciously buy into it. In fact, I rebel against it at every opportunity because I believe it is an evil system. I am a good person because I don't agree and don't align with Christianity. And you have still yet to give me one reason why Christianity is actually good.
I've given you it, like, I don't know how many times now.
You've said some bullshit that we've refuted a couple of times, but you've yet to give me anything meaningful. And when backed into a corner, all you do is quote another philosopher or fall back into a script.
People follow other people's behavior, and the reason you followed the behavior and embody the behavior you do is because you have part of your unconscious, which is part of a tradition, and that tradition is nested in something greater than you. Unless you're saying that our beliefs are completely removed from socialization, which I highly doubt you would back into. You grew up and played games.
Something greater than me is the civilization that I live in and my deep caring for other people, not a God and not Christianity. Meaningless
even in that, Jackie,
buzzwords is what I'm getting from you again.
And even in that, Jackie, you've just demonstrated even in that it does not have to be a Judeo-Christian background.
Yep. Other cultures did it just fine without Christianity. I do it just fine without Christianity. You can do it just fine without Christianity too. You just have to pull your head out of several philosophers' asses. And with that, Jackie, it's been 25 minutes and we've, as predicted, quoted a bunch of people that nobody cares about and gotten absolutely nowhere. So we're going to move on, and hopefully next time you'll bring some thoughts of your own.